All right, welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andy Mack. Let's talk about the top story of the day, and that being the first time we're seeing the name President Trump in some of these emails released by the House Oversight Democrats in the House relating Jeffrey Epstein and the president. And they add question about Trump's friendship with Epstein and about any knowledge he may have had in what prosecutors call a years-long effort by Epstein to exploit underage girls. Trump has consistently denied any knowledge of Epstein's alleged crimes, says he ended their relationship years ago. And there is just a trio of emails that are being released by this House Oversight Committee dating back to 2011 in an email between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. The author, Michael Wolff, was also involved in some of these exchanges. Epstein wrote to Maxwell, though, quote, "I want you to realize that the dog hasn't barked is Trump." They redacted a victim's name, spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. So some big developments in terms of this. And we just saw the new Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva being sworn in, potentially for the release more of these. Let's bring in the conversation right now with NOTUS, Riley Rogerson. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. What's the biggest takeaway for you? Because these really kind of draw to some of the connection between Epstein and Trump that Trump has said does not exist. What do we make of these emails?
There's so much to unpack here, but I can say as a reporter who's on Capitol Hill almost every day, there was a question here. Would the government shutdown squash the Jeffrey Epstein news cycle? Obviously, House Republicans generally don't want to be having a conversation about Epstein. So there was just a question of if it would even be relevant when the House returned. And that question was answered today. The Epstein news cycle is roaring back. Republicans and Democrats are going to spend this better part of today answering questions about what they make of these emails. And really what Republicans would like to be talking about is the government shutdown ending. So it's created a really tricky political dynamic for a lot of people here.
And we saw that at the White House press briefing as well. But we also heard from the Republicans in their oversight saying this on social media. Why did Democrats cover up the name when the estate didn't redact it in the redacted documents provided to the committee? Because this victim, Virginia Giuffre, they did not publicly say that in the original one, publicly said that she never witnessed wrongdoing by President Trump. Democrats are trying to create a fake narrative to slander the President Trump. Shame on them. What do we make of it? What are we hearing from lawmakers about this fact? Are they trying to shift focus to those redacted names, a victim that is no longer with us?
I think the number one thing that Republicans here on Capitol Hill are trying to do is not talk about Epstein as much as humanly possible. President Trump put on Truth Social earlier today that he considers this all a hoax and wants Republicans to remain on message, talking about this government shutdown ending, the fact that Republicans did not really give any concessions in order to end it. They're celebrating the end of the shutdown as a big success. Epstein, they really do see as a huge distraction. And I think what we're going to see as House Republicans return in full at around 5 o'clock today for their first vote to reopen the government, the most are going to be pivoting on the conversation. Of course, we'll see where this goes when it hits the floor, and they're going to be forced to go on the record at that point.
And we'll see what happens with that. And I want to ask you, because there are a trove of emails, of documents that House Democrats have, tens of thousands, and these are just three, they say cherry-pick, the Republicans do, emails that involve Trump in this, in terms of this. Do we have any clarity on the exact context of that, or are we still kind of unsure? Are we in the dark about that?
So Republicans on the House Oversight Committee, after those initial 3 documents were released a tranche of 20,000 documents from the Epstein estate that are related, to Epstein generally in this investigation. So right now, reporters, lawmakers are trying to sort through what's actually in the rest of these documents. How does it tie to President Trump? I think we saw in that initial statement from the House Oversight Republicans that they're implying there's details relating to Democratic officials, where yet we will see as people dig through these documents exactly what's there. But right now we're in the fact-finding stage, and there are a lot of new documents for people to dig through.
And I want to get into that 218th signature, but we actually see this right now. So, Riley, hold with us. Let's take you on to this live as it unfolds, the swearing in of Adelita Grijalva as this happening here on Live Now.
Okay. Handshake.
Handshake.
Thank you.
We'll leave the camera to it.
Wow, that's a big one.
Congresswoman, why do you take so long to get sworn?
Thank you guys. That would be another That would not be my question.
Look, I really like this lady. She's going to be an excellent member of Congress. She's a great person. I just told her on the way in that she fills her father's shoes, or she's going to try. No one can.
No one can.
He was a giant around here, served a long time, served his state very well. I served under him in the Natural Resources Committee for a while and admired the way he did the work. He was tenacious. So she has a proud family legacy, and we're delighted to have her here. She may not agree with me, but we follow the custom of the House on the timetable, and we've had a little, as we say in the Deep South, some intense fellowship about that.
Yes.
Okay? But she's here now, and I promised that we would have her the oath administered before we began legislative business, so she hasn't missed a vote, and we're delighted you're here. So anything I can do to help you, as I do all members, happy to get you acclimated and do everything. But you know more than most because your dad was here for a long time.
I visited.
Yes.
I never did this job, so this is brand spanking new. So
Right.
I will take the offer of help.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank
I gave it to her.
All right, just kind of a ceremonial moment there. As you can see, the moment between Adelita Grijalva, the now Congresswoman, alongside the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, after a weeks-long delay. She is now being sworn in. And, of course, she also pledged that she would be that 218th signature. Let's bring back in from NOTUS, Riley Rogerson. Thank you again for continuing to stick with us. But she said she's going to be the 218th vote, that discharge petition by the House to release the Epstein files. We know that could vote not happen until December. What's going to happen, and how much momentum after these 3 new emails and the connection potentially becomes a little bit clear between Epstein and Trump? Is there momentum on Capitol Hill for this?
Momentum, and there was a bit of drama earlier today because there was some reporting that the White House and White House officials were calling some of the Republicans who had signed on to this discharge petition to force this vote, that's Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert, reportedly to likely persuade them not to sign this or to remove their name. The fact that now Congresswoman Grijalva is sworn in, I'm sure she's rushing to sign on to the signature. She's pledged to do that over and over again. It now looks like it's a sure thing that this is going to pass. Neither Nancy Mace nor Lauren Boebert hold their names, so this is on a glide path to a vote in the House of Representatives. Beyond that, there's a huge question of where this goes from here. It's unclear that if it will get a Senate vote, that is not guaranteed. And if somehow past the Senate as well, there's no guarantee that President Trump would sign this. Obviously, the White House is very opposed. So we'll see where it goes, but I think the next step we'll see is a vote in early December.
And we'll see what happens. But we heard at the White House several questions about this, and Caroline Leavitt confirming that she has discussed, or the Trump administration has discussed with different Congress members about something in this relation. But there was also asked if Trump could just immediately release the files. Is that a possibility? Is that something that can be a reality? Is that possible?
I mean, the conversation here from Republicans is that the Department of Justice has released what it has. There was a tranche of documents that was released, I believe in September, it might have been August, a massive amount of tens of thousands of documents that were from the DOJ. And the party line here is that the Department of Justice has released what the Department of Justice has. Now, as we're seeing additional documents come out, those are from the Epstein estate, which is separate. So it's unclear that even if the Trump administration, were to release more, if there would be anything else to release, at least that's how Republicans are framing it.
Yeah, we'll see what's to come. Obviously, a lot to make of it, and people trying to read between the lines on these 3 emails released today by the House Oversight, the Democrats there. Riley, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, your insight here on Live Now from Fox.
Thanks for having me.